New faces on the campus. Each new academic year brings to the Hebrew University students from many countries. How do they fit into the academic and social life of the university? The Dean of Students coordinates a program designed to help nearly 1,000 overseas students attain the goals that brought them to Jerusalem. Their aims are varied. Many want to specialize in Jewish studies and archaeology, others in the natural sciences, and some don't want to specialize at all. Whether they come independently or in organized groups from the United States, Canada, Persia and Africa, the Jerusalem campus is both their home and their window on Israel. The new campus is growing rapidly, filling up the ridge of hills in western Jerusalem that was empty 10 years ago. Sometimes East and West do meet, at the university for instance. Here differences of race encourage a search for what young people have in common. Israel government scholarships and interest in what the country has to offer have put the Hebrew University on the map for students in such places as Nairobi, Tokyo and Bangkok.
Higashi, Mizrahi, Kazok, Mishpacha, Bijin, Nara Yafa, Sakura no Ki, Eitz Dovedvan, Tomodachi, Yadid.
Patrie, Moledet. Le fleuve, Nahar. Coquelicot, Kalanit. Le soleil, Shemesh.
Yaakov Tashima's Japanese Hebrew is just one accent among many at the university. The main thing is to be understood, and in that, Yaakov has no difficulty. Dissatisfaction with his ancestral religion and the search for a new way brought Yaakov to Jerusalem. In Japan, his father founded a religious movement influenced by Judaism, especially its interpretation by Martin Buber. Yaakov's discovery of Buber's writing encouraged him to come and study in the university where the great philosopher once taught. Now Yaakov studies the Bible and Jewish philosophy in Hebrew and has found much in common between the ethical traditions of the two peoples. The young people of Japan have lost their religious faith, he says. Among Jews, something has remained.
מה אתה לומד באוניברסיטה?
עד כאן פילוסופיה, מכאן מקרא אני לומד.
Though far away from home, Yaakov does not feel lost. His search for knowledge and faith is an enthusiastic one.
נשמע מסוימת, אצל יפנים רגש נשאר בצד.
A psalm for the sons of Korah. Clap your hands, all ye people. Shout unto God with a voice of triumph. Yaakov isn't the only member of his group in Israel. Others are living for a while in a kibbutz. They have taken the distance between Tokyo and Jerusalem in their stride.
It was me on my way to see if I would weep or not. When they saw I weep not, they took me from my wee top.
Steve presented the university with its first Beatle haircut, straight from England, but it didn't catch on. The climate was against it.
Well, I came to Israel as a tourist and we came to visit the university.
And I went back to England deciding to come back and study here the next year. So I packed up my things and came back to Israel. But since I had 6 months to go, I decided first of all to work in Eilat for a month. And then I went to an Ulpan in Netanya, which helped me prepare for my studies this year. And I decided a good thing to study here was political science and economics.
Steve, what do you think about the Israeli students?
They're the same as students anywhere else, but the thing that's special about them is that they start studying for exams 2 nights before. They're no different from anybody else. They enjoy themselves. A lot of them work, which is not found in England, I know.
The rippling action, the powerful step of the born athlete. The distance this young African has covered is great. The finish is in sight. They are more like him in Jerusalem, African men and women, scholarship students, who are being trained to become doctors by the Hebrew University Hadassah Medical School.
תתחיל לנקש את שדות הריאה העליונים. אתם שומעים כל ניקוש עדי?
It takes 7 long years to qualify, 7 years away from home. The difficulties seem insurmountable. A strange language, a new country, a heavy curriculum. But now the long pull is nearing its end. Its result, more African doctors for a continent in need of modern medicine.
כל הניקוש העדי מדגים לכם ריאות שהן תקינות.
Yeah, you asked me how I came to Israel, and how it happened that I came to Israel. But it really happened in this way. There was a scholarship offered to a school on behalf of the first and Governor General and the first ambassador of Israel. And I happened to get it. And I came really to study in the Hebrew University because it was the very first scholarship that I had. And I had long wanted to study biology out of my home. Here is a book about Africa. Perhaps you are interested to see some pictures. Here is a map of Africa. Perhaps you like to know where Sierra Leone is, just here. This is our wedding album. You know, we are married in Israel. We came all the way from Sierra Leone not knowing ourselves. Isn't it funny? We are married at the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
This is a close-up of the same picture while we were in church. You could see we were serious. It was a very serious occasion. Here the pastor is giving, the ring is being given to the lady.
Mein Name ist Michael Krug. Ich komme aus Deutschland, um hier Judaistik zu studieren. Ich möchte auch einmal Judaistik an einer deutschen Universität unterrichten, um so durch Kenntnis versuchen, Vorurteile abzubauen, die zwischen beiden Völkern bestehen.
My name is Michael Krupp. I am a German. I came to Jerusalem to study Judaism. Right now, I am working on Mishnah, Tractate Kedoshim. I am here with my wife. When I go back to Germany, I want to teach Jewish studies at a university. In that way, I will help to replace ignorant hatred with knowledge. An understanding of Judaism in Germany will, I hope, do something towards recreating the ties between us. Michael is a believing Christian. His study of Jewish texts at the university is accompanied by research in the New Testament. In a postgraduate seminar, an oddly mixed group has discussed the Gospel according to St. Luke. The text is about degrees of sin and their due punishment. In Hitler's Germany, Michael's father was a pastor. In his home, the most important book was the Bible. As a boy, Michael liked its stories. They appealed to his imagination. Later, the connection was for the young man to make. The people of the book were the people his countrymen had chosen to destroy. Michael and his wife get on well with the other students at the university. The lack of formality suits them. Social relations are free and natural. Michael has even managed to pick up the slang and mannerisms of the Israelis around him.
הוא מאוד חופשי, הוא לא שם לב על הרבה פורמליות. מבחינת הזאת אפשר לסדר אותו טוב מאוד.
In their seminar, the professor and his students pick their way through the mazes of theology. For Michael, the text is familiar. It is about blasphemy against God. Here, it has a new relevance. For them, there is no forgiveness. They suffer eternally. The debate about sin continues. Sins that can be forgiven and sins that are unpardonable. Between classes, there's time for gossip, coffee and flirtation. What do the overseas students think about the Israeli? Well, he's serious, practical, chauvinistic, amorous, proud of his outdated moustache, and not a gentleman. No, he's light-headed, gay, naive, and not a gentleman. Hebrew is written from right to left, has letters like spikes, and learning to speak it can give you a headache. But the university's intensive Hebrew courses turn stutterers into speakers in a matter of months. Insufficient command of Hebrew doesn't necessarily interfere with a foreign student's coursework. Papers are often submitted to teachers in English, French, and even Russian. Meanwhile, verbs have to be conjugated, words learned, and even a philosopher has to know the Hebrew for sure.
I am one of several hundred Latin American students studying at the Hebrew University. Myself, I study in the Social Science faculty in the Sociology and Political Science department. I have found the Hebrew University a very stimulating academic environment. Apart from the normal difficulties in learning the Hebrew language, both the courses and the social life accompanying them are very, very satisfactory.
Many of the Americans and Canadians on the campus have come with the junior year program sponsored by the Friends of the Hebrew University.
I think that the Israeli student has more responsibility, he's more settled, he has family responsibility, he knows where he's going. The American student is not that way. The American student can just fool around for a while, he can look for himself, while the Israeli student coming in after 2 years in the army is more settled and looking for, and knows what he's looking for, instead of just fooling around and looking around and searching. I think the American student is much more cause-conscious and participates in all of these actions much more. But the Israeli does is above it. I don't. We're not putting a value judgment on this. Whether it's good or bad. But it's interesting that the American students are the ones who started all the action programs here. Programs to help the lower class people and to help the new immigrants, to help with new literacy. This is a hemshech, it's a continuation of the same action consciousness and cause consciousness and searching around for something to believe in that we have in the States.
Alors nous sommes réunis ici, tous étudiants d'Oded, originaires d'Afrique du Nord. Nous sommes venus étudier à l'université de Jérusalem plutôt que d'aller étudier dans une université française.
Irene, Vivian, Albert, and my mom. Very much a group, very serious, and very aware of what they represent. They grew up in the old Sephardi Jewish communities of North Africa. They might have studied in one of the universities of France, but they came to the Hebrew University with an aim in mind. Israel's North African community needs leaders. The large-scale immigration of the 50s brought the poor and less educated. These young people bring with them a different version of North African life. Sephardic culture has much to contribute to Israel. They want to be its interpreters.
En face de moi, Maïmon porte une djellaba qu'on voit généralement chez les Arabes.
L'artisanat marocain est très développé.
But all this can wait. at least until after Purim. Tonight, everybody's going to the Purim ball at the Students' Union. The dawn creeps over the hill into Jerusalem, an old city, waking up again after centuries of sleep. New Jerusalem is still the faithful city, the center of government and learning, its university a house of study for the Jewish people and for all nations.